Mazurier there in the newsroom. With France in shock and a serial killer on the loose, the France 24 debate examines the political fallout of what happened in the southwestern city of Toulouse on Monday. Almost all major candidates for president suspending their campaigns with 32 days to go till the first round. The incumbent joining children for a minute of silence that was respected all across the country. Schools across France honoring the memory of 3 Jewish school children gunned down along with a rabbi as police search for what they believe may be the same gunman who murdered an off-duty paratrooper on March 11th and 2 of his comrades last Thursday in the same southwestern region of the country. We're going to be looking at how this tragedy and the ensuing manhunt could impact a campaign that's lately started to stray from talking about the economy to such issues as rows over halal butchered meat and a crackdown on immigration. And with us to discuss how this is all impacting the campaign, Bernard Kanovich. He's in charge of dialogue with the Muslim community for the French Jewish umbrella group, the CRIF. Welcome to the France 24 debate. Welcome back as well to Régis Le Sommier of news magazine Paris Match, your cover story this Thursday.
Yes.
And France 24's Tony Todd, who's been following the story very closely for us on our internet desk, and Warwick Doyle, who teaches Global Communications at the American University of Paris. Welcome back, sir, to the France 24 debate. And by the way, thank you for weighing in on the discussion on the France 24 debate Facebook page. You can also contact us on Twitter at FrancoisF24 is where you find us. Let's begin by hearing what the incumbent had to say. French President Nicolas Sarkozy, one of several candidates to suspend campaigning for ceremonies. Sarkozy had a rally planned Monday evening. That was scrapped. A TV appearance, that was scrapped as well. Instead, he went to Toulouse, came back to the capital Monday evening, and spoke from the presidential palace.
Cet homme, à chaque fois qu'il agit,
this man, each time he acts to kill. He gives no chance to his victims.
c'est la République tout entière.
The whole country, the whole republic, must be mobilized to face this crisis.
Mais nous ne connaissons pas.
We don't know his motives, although we can imagine that racism and the killing sprees may be linked.
La folie meurtrière sont en l'occurrence liées.
We don't know his motives, but we imagine that racism and anti-Semitism could be linked. Régis Le Sommier, it's carefully worded there. His main rival, the socialist François Hollande, on Monday evening jumped in and called it an abject act of anti-Semitism, what happened inside the school. The signs point to that, but we don't have the full proof of that at this point.
No, and actually the killer, I mean, what we can say about the killer is he's rather smart in like blurring, his motive and possibly hiding in between, like linking paratroopers, army guys, some of them being to Afghanistan. One of them actually survived the deadly ambush in Uzbin Valley in 2008. So, and this particular context of soldiers being killed and Jewish, innocent children being killed too. And of course, we've seen now that all the, the paratroopers were of Arab descent, with the exception of one of them who was from the French Antilles. We can say it looks like racism, but it is not clear. It is, it didn't strike one community, or he's going to strike another one. We don't know. I mean, it's what makes it even more scary, in my opinion.
Warwick Doyle, your thoughts on this?
Well, clearly, I think François Hollande's right. We can't say that someone who goes and targets children in a specifically Jewish school is not anti-Semitic. There's no doubt about it. This is an anti-Semitic attack. However, the same person did kill 3 Muslims, and no one talked about it that it's an anti-Muslim attack. It wasn't even covered, the fact that they were Muslims, until the Jewish attack came out. So there's a problem there, I think, in how that issue was dealt with. However, from my mind, there's no question that most people in France think that this is an atrocious, vicious act of anti-Semitism.
Hollande agreeing with Nicolas Sarkozy, by the way, François Hollande, who's leading in the polls, the socialist candidate, to hit the pause button on his campaign for the time being.
The campaign will be suspended for several days. Democracy has not been suspended. The campaign has been suspended, not democracy, which is there every day in public debate. We should promote and defend democracy.
All right, his campaign suspended, but there you see him, Tony Todd. He's speaking on France's preeminent breakfast radio talk show, or one of the top talk shows. So it's a tricky one. You say your campaign is suspended, but you're still out there communicating.
Yes, and the same goes for Nicolas Sarkozy as well. Both he and Hollande are getting an awful lot of airtime at the moment that they might not otherwise have been getting. There being very strict rules about how much airtime candidates can get on terrestrial TV. It's interesting to note that not all the candidates have decided to suspend their campaigns. François Picard yesterday being very firm in the fact that he didn't want to suspend the campaign and wanted and felt that because of what he sees as a lowering of the tone in the national debate towards race, that the issues need to be debated in the context of a campaign as much as possible now.
All right, let's pick up that point. As Tony was saying, not everyone's suspending their campaign. It's not just François Picard, the far-left candidate, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, staying on his schedule, calling the fact that he's keeping his campaign going an act of resistance, while Bayrou, the centrist candidate, who could poll very well, above 10%, keeps campaigning to denounce what he calls, as Tony mentions, a climate of intolerance.
The level of violence and stigmatization in French society is rising, and it is completely unacceptable. This isn't unrelated to public responsibilities. Public figures, politicians, also have a duty to be watchful of the evolution of the society that they are responsible for.
So, Bernard Kanovich, who's right? The incumbent who says, and his main rival who say, we're suspending our campaigns for the time being, or the centrist candidate who says, I'm going to keep campaigning so that I can denounce intolerance?
No. They have to suspend campaign. If it was a spectacle or a football player, we stop the game and we stop 1 day, 2 days, and then the time of the sepulture, and it's necessary. But you said you are not sure, we were not sure that it was a racial crime.
Until the suspect has been caught.
We don't know everything what is going on, but when a man, he seems to be natural and sure. When he entered in a school, Jewish school, he said children and shoot school 1 meter, few yards, special shooting on Jewish children. I'm sure that it's racist. It's a racist crime. It's a racist crime.
Yeah, I'm not denying that at all. What I'm saying, this could be the motive of the guy, could very well be a jihadist or somebody fighting his own jihad, and somehow some, ex-soldiers, apparently he had knowledge in weapons, having severe PTSD, or any kind of not people, We've seen Breivik in Norway was very hard to identify. Breivik, for instance, was not anti-Semitic. Yes. He was anti-Muslim, which is slightly different. So that guy killed 67 people, and he had his own motive. He was in his own world. So we can, of course, the act is anti-Semitic, but the motive of the guy is probably to, he's a mass murderer. That's new in France. The U.S. have been used to seeing mass murder.
Shooting sprees.
Yeah, shooting sprees. But the term mass murder doesn't exist in French. I mean, we have serial killer, which we imported from the English language, actually.
Yes,
because we are not used to seeing that. We're used to common crime, usually people, committing crime for stealing money, revenge, all kind of motives. But this time, we have 4 days apart.
We feel that something like that could appear.
Yeah.
We feel that. The Jewish community especially was very anxious these last 1-2 years. And this anxiety increases progressively, and we feel that something will arrive.
But then what do you do
something,
about Muslim soldiers?
Something we don't know exactly. But what happened yesterday was what we were very afraid. Very afraid.
What were the signs that made you...
Jewish family, in your friend, Jewish families with the children, we are usually not sure, not secure. We don't feel secure.
And what are the tangible reasons that make you feel unsafe?
Violence will increases progressively these last 2-3 years. Not only because of the campaign.
Are you really sure about that there's an increase in the violence against Jewish people in France?
I don't know if you feel that in the society, but the society becomes violent more and more.
Yeah, but
and people say it's TV, it's one or two other things, perhaps, but generally, the violence increases between people, between communities, between parties.
Violence in the tone, so yes, in other words.
Yes, in the town, in the street, in the newspaper, between people, we feel that we are not secure. The Jewish community feel not secure. You feel, for instance, last week, Israel was during 5 days under bombs coming from Gaza. 500 Qassam and other things like that. Nobody moves. 1 million people lives 4 days.
I think
I'm sorry. Let's bring it back to what's going on in France here.
We cannot deny that.
Yes, but the atmosphere is it.
So what's happening in the Middle East, you're saying, contributes to this climate?
It is connected, because we see that every day, many times a day, this violence.
The EU's foreign policy
chief. Speech, the head of the European Union foreign speech today, where she talked about, how terrible it is to see suffering of children, in the children who died in the bus coming back to Belgium, children in Syria, of course the children in Toulouse, and she said children in Gaza. And the Israeli Prime Minister then was extremely annoyed with her. So there is a certain impact of the relationship between the Middle East and what's going on here. I don't know if it's really relevant to these killings, though. I don't think that we can attribute any connection between the Middle East. And I think that on Sunday there's going to be a demonstration of Muslim-Jewish unity against this discrimination. And I think let's hope that this becomes an opportunity where this division, those divisions are forgotten about the internal need of France to deal with its minorities. This is an opportunity, and we've already seen this when François Picard, the Prime Minister of France, made remarks suggesting that the system of butchering animals that either halal or kosher should be changed and modernized. We did see a unity between those two communities then. So there's an opportunity, and I think that at all costs we should try and keep this discussion as being to do with France and France's treatment of its minorities.
Do you agree with Bernard Kanovich that Bayrou should also have suspended campaign rallies?
I'm not to tell Mr. Bayrou.
It's a matter of dignity.
I mean,
it's a matter also, I'm sorry for interrupting, but it's a matter also of, it seems that Bayrou knows more than everybody. Like, he's saying that, the roots of this is in the French society. That's, I mean, we don't know what are the motive of these guys.
Yes,
I mean, it's
yes.
way too early to say this is the product of you know, a certain society. No, I mean, come on, we got to be very careful. I think all the candidates were very careful, including Mélenchon, who didn't go too far outside of saying I'm keeping my campaign on track. But the other ones have been extra careful, and Bayrou, I think, went a little bit too far.
And by the way, the far-right candidate, Marine Le Pen, she's also suspending her campaign. In that sense, she's agreeing with the major candidates, but she does say the others aren't going perhaps far enough.
I hear that everyone's going to Toulouse. I don't know if that's our role as presidential candidates. Of course, it's definitely a job for the president. But as for us, candidates, we should show our solidarity, of course, because it's in moments like these that there's no more politics, there's no more campaigning.
C'est justement dans des moments comme celui-là qu'il n'y a plus de politique.
Bernard Kanovich, do you agree with Marine Le Pen that it's okay for the president, after all, he's the head of state, it's an important symbol for him to go to that school in Toulouse, but maybe the other candidates should have stayed away?
Marine Le Pen, like Jean-Marie Le Pen, you wouldn't trust me, but it's a joke in the French policy. It's a joke. It is. She's nothing. She's nothing.
But does she have a fair point there?
I'm not afraid by Marine Le Pen. She's alone. She has no program. His program is nothing.
17% of people are about to vote for her.
Yeah, and she has an
well, even if it's
important
going
role to
down,
play.
it seems quite a number.
40.
So anyway, I mean, regardless you want to ignore the problem or not, I mean, she's part of our political scene. So.
And she has an important role to play in terms of the outcome of the first round of the election. Like you said, 17% of people are going to vote for her. She may not be the serious candidate in your opinion, and she may not be someone, and she's certainly not someone who's going to win or become president of the French Republic, but she's still in a position of some considerable.
And Tony, on the point she makes, that maybe all the other candidates, by going to Toulouse, it's a bit too much. It should just be the president.
I think that presidential candidates, people who may well be French president in a couple of months' time, have probably got a duty to be seen to be reacting in the right way to these incidents. I mean, I'm not here to sort of cast an opinion on these things.
But the argument swings both ways.
The argument swings both ways, and I think it's interesting that Marine Le Pen came up, because apart from saying that, she has been quite tight-lipped in the last
24 hours.
24 hours.
When we come back, we'll pick up on these points and look ahead to how it's going to impact the final 31 days of the French presidential election campaign.
30.